Hi, and welcome to my La Liga 2018-19 prediction. In 20th spot, we have Real Valladolid. Now, they've got a few good loan signings, such as Kako from Malaga, but I don't think that'll be enough to keep them up this season. And I think that their squad looks the worst by quite some distance out of all the teams in this league. Next up, in 19th place, I have predicted Rayo Vallecano. I think that they've done a good job in the transfer market securing their defense, but I don't think that their attack is good enough, and I think that their midfield is okay. I think that they'll do okay in the battle for survival, but I think that they'll get 19th. I think that Valladolid will be pretty much on their own down there, and I think that Vallecano and the next team that I'm going to mention are going to be battling it out with the team above them. In 18th spot, I have chosen Huesca. I know it isn't very bold that I chose all three of the promoted teams to go back down, but that's what I think will happen. I think that Huesca have made the best signings in the transfer window. They bought in a good keeper to replace their very good keeper from last year. Also, I think that they did a really good job in the defensive area, bringing in some very good players. I think that Ruben Semedo will be good for them. And his center back partner also looks pretty good. They brought in some good fullbacks, but I think that uh, their lack of midfield and attacking talent will let them down. Even though I think it's okay, I don't think it's good enough for them to stay up or quite to the level of the teams above them.
Next up, in 17th position,
we have Leganes. I think that losing Diego Rico is a pretty big loss, but I don't think it will be too bad for them. I think that they have the players to make up for it, and I think they made some very good loan moves that will help them out throughout the season, allowing themselves to stay out of the relegation zone.
and finish in 17th. In 16th, we have
Deportivo Alaves. Now, in the first season, as most clubs do, they just seem to loan a whole bunch of players, but even though they lost them, I think that they coped very well without them. They replaced Munir with John Guedetti on a permanent deal and Borja Baston on loan, which I think is going to be really good for them. They already had some good players, and I think adding to that will be very good for them and keep them up and
pretty safe in 16th place. Now in 15th place, we have Levante. I think that Jose Luis Morales will have another very good season and tear up La Liga again as he did last season. I also like their coach, and I think that he can do very well with them.
No, I think they did some pretty good business, bringing in Coke from Schalke and a few other players. I like Enes Bardi on their team, as well as Emmanuel Boateng, and I think that they'll stay up. Next up in 14th place, we have Ibar. Ibar doesn't have the financial security of a lot of the teams in this league, and as evident by their very small stadium compared to the rest of the league, they don't spend as much on transfers either. I think they lost a lot of big players like Anui, and therefore they'll drop from their ninth place position last year into 14th as the competition below them has risen up. Next up in 13th place, we have Espanyol. I think that Espanyol lost a huge player in Gerard Moreno. However, I think bringing in Borja Iglesias will be good, and I think that Leo Baptista is already a good enough striker for their team, and I think that they could either form a good duo or Baptista could be good on his own up front. Also, I think that the loss of Paul Lopez at goalkeeper on a free is going to be huge because I don't think that their new goalkeeper is going to be anywhere near as good, and I think that Paul Lopez was very good last year. In 12th place, I've decided to go with Girona. I think that they have some good players like Stuani and Portu, and I think they also did very good business in getting in Patrick Roberts, but I don't think that it was a good idea to let Pablo Maffeo go on loan to Stuttgart. I also think that Mojica is a very good buy, and he could help them out a lot this season. Next up in 11th place, we have Athletic Bilbao. I think that the goalkeeper that they brought back on loan, Alex Romero, will be good enough to kind of replace Kepa. I don't think he'll be as good as Kepa, but I think that it's a very good idea because he was already there, and I think that he'll have a good season. And I also think that buying Kappa and buying Yuri are very good signings to strengthen their fullback areas. I like their midfield and attack from last season, so I think this will be enough for them to get 11th. Next up in 10th place, we have Real Sociedad. Now, I'm a big fan of their front three, and I think that their midfield will be good this season because they brought in Marino. Also, I think that their defense is already pretty good, and I think that bringing in Teo Hernandez on loan will be a great signing for them, and should improve their left side, as I think that their right side is already pretty good at fullback, even though they lost Odriozola to Real Madrid. In ninth place is Celta Vigo. Now, I'm already a big fan of their front three, in Maxi Gomez, Pione Sisto, and Iago Aspas. I also really like Emery Moore and Sofiane Boufal as depth for those options. However, I think that they lost a few key midfield players, such as Daniel Vaz, and I think that bringing Beltran in will also soften the blow of that, and I think that they also improved their defense. In 8th place, I've gone with Getafe. They finished 9th place last season, but I think that they'll improve on that, even though that was wonderful in itself. They already had, I think, the third best defense in the league last season. Bringing in the top scorer from the second division, who absolutely tore it up, should really help their forward line. And I think that they could have a very good season if this happens. In 7th place, I think we have one of the most interesting clubs. It'll be Real Betis. I think that bringing in Marc Bartra last season was an incredible investment. I think that he will be very good for them again this year. I also think that uh, their three in the back system is really exciting, and I think their forward line also will be improved with Takashi Inui after his very good World Cup.
And even though they lost Fabian Ruiz for a large fee, I think they did very good business getting Carvalho in for a low fee and for getting Paul Lopez in on a free.
In 6th place, I've gone with Sevilla. I think that their team will improve this season. I think that their defense was kind of inconsistent throughout times last season. Even though they've lost Nzanzi, I think that they'll be able to fill that gap, and I think that bringing Andre Silva will be a very good improvement in addition to the forward line. I also think that the gaps left by Langle and Nzanzi will be filled by Nyan and defensive midfielder Amadou. In 5th place, I've gone with Valencia. Now, I think that their additions in the attack, Kevin Gamero and Batshuayi on loan, are very good. However, I think that they'll devote a lot to the Champions League, and I think that they'll actually do well, maybe getting to a quarter-final this season. And if they lock up the signing of Guedes, I think that that's very possible for them.
Also, I think buying Diakabi as another center back is very good. I'm also a fan of Marcelino, and I'm eager to see what he can do this season. In 4th place, I've chosen Villarreal to get the last Champions League spot. I think they have done incredible business getting three really good forwards in Akambi, Gerard Moreno, and Baca in, and all for pretty good prices. I think that makes their attack one of the best in the league, and I've also read on some Villarreal sites that they're really liking Funes Mori. A lot of people thought he'd flop over here in Villarreal, but people have really liked him and have even been saying that they need a partner as good as him. so I think that he can be a really vital part of this defense. However, I think that Rodri is a big loss, and also I think that Castillejo's a pretty big loss. However, I think that they're probably not going to use wingers this season. I think that it's likely that they go with Cazorla, Fornals, uh, Caceres, and Trigueros midfield for this season. And unless they push hard for the Europa League, I don't think that they'll have too many competitions to compete in this season, and that'll get them in the Champions League for next one. In third place, I've gone with one of the biggest clubs. I've gone with Real Madrid. Now, Real Madrid lost their best player in Ronaldo, and it seems like Luka Modric wants to leave. I don't really know where that's at right now, but I think that playing Benzema and Bale up top together could be really interesting. And if they put Asensio on the wing, I think that would be very interesting as well. Even though I'm not sure if he's ready for it or not yet. I think he's definitely very close to that stage if he isn't. Also, Julian Lopetegui was able to get the best out of Isco before the World Cup for Spain, and I think he'll do that again with Real Madrid. I think that Courtois is a good buy, and they got him for a really good price, but I think that Navas could very well go out and say that he wants to leave the club. I think that Vinicius Jr. could do with a loan spell out to maybe a Huesca or a Valladolid lower in the league, but I think you could get good minutes and really get a feel for the league. Also, I think it might be a good idea to maybe get Odriozola some game time, whether at Real Madrid or somewhere else. However, they are a squad in transition, and with the loss of Kovacic, who I think could have been important this season, I think that they'll get third place. In second place, I've gone with obviously another big team, Barcelona. The league just doesn't seem to be enough for them right now, so shall they make a real deep run in the Champions League, I think they'll be devoting a lot more resources to that than the league and almost take their eye off of it a little. They'll have to rest some big names, and depending on how good Arthur is, I think that their depth could be a little deeper in midfield. However, if Arthur is what people say he is, I think that he could have a good season and provide some really good backup for Barcelona. Also, I hope that they start Lenglet because with Piqué's age and Umtiti's youth, I think that Umtiti and Lenglet will be the future of the Barcelona backline, and it's time for them to start transitioning to that. Also, Suarez seemed to slow down just a little bit last season, and I think that could be enough for them to lose the league. In first place, I've gone with Atletico Madrid. Now, Simeone's side has done some great business this summer. They bought in Gelson Martins on a free. They bought Rodri for a really cheap price, which was 20 mil, and got really good deals on almost everyone. Adam was super cheap. Arias they got for 10 mil, making a profit of almost 15 mil on Versalco, who they sold. Even though after his good World Cup, I think that he had a really good season coming this year, and he'll do it for Inter Milan. They also have four very good center backs in Lucas, Godin, Savage, and Jimenez, and they have depth in the left back area. Felipe Luis, Lucas can cover there. Arias has depth in Juanfran, and I think that Juanfran can come in and fill when is needed because I think he's a very capable backup right back. In addition to their insane defense, they have added a whole bunch of goals to their team, and I think that Diego Costa coming off of a great World Cup and a very good Super Cup could really benefit them, and I think that they have one of the deepest squads in Europe now. So there you have it. I have Atletico Madrid as champions, and maybe a surprise in there of Villarreal making it to Champions League next year. Thank you for watching this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed, dislike if you didn't, and let me know what I could improve on for next time. Thanks again for watching, and see ya.